We've already seen a handful of head coaching jobs open in college football. 11 jobs total, 8 at the Power 4 level in terms of Power 4, of course, most recently with Brian Kelly being fired at LSU. So we're going to look at some head coaching hot seat rankings. Cool, warm, scorching hot. We're going to talk about all the big names that are buzzing out there and which category they fall into. All right, and for that, we want to welcome in our analysts, Talty and Bryant McFadden here to discuss. We're starting with Florida State and Mike Norvell. So obviously started off the season with a huge splash. You beat Bama and have kind of fallen off since. Now 3-4, 0-4 in conference play. BMAC, I'll come to you first because I know you know this team better than anybody. Just how hot is Mike Norvell's seat right now?
Well, based on the letdowns in terms of expectations, you know, you look at the last 2 years, well, 1.5 years in ACC play, they're 1-11 in the ACC, dating back to 2024. That's not good. So when you look at the expectations not being met, I think it's safe to say it's only warm right now. Now, when you look at the fan base in Tallahassee, they would prefer it to be hibachi hot, but I think personally it's only warm, and here's why. It seems like Mike Norvell has the backing of athletic director Michael Alford. Alford basically had a message to some of the boosters and supporters that have went viral throughout Tallahassee, where he's basically stated and said, the narrow margins in our losses and the quality of our wins speaks volumes about the direction we're heading. We're proud of the fight in this team so far this season. So when you hear something like that coming from the AD, clearly it tells you he is willing to ride and continuing to give Mike Norvell an opportunity to right his wrongs this season. So right now, anything can happen. We know how college football operates. Today you could be cold, tomorrow you could be hot. But as we see it right now this week, I think it's only warm.
I agree with a lot of what BMAC just said there. I'm still going to go scorching just because we've already seen what was essentially a booster attempted coup to get rid of Mike Norvell. And when that happens, those feelings don't necessarily just go away. I do think what is important to note with Florida State, which I think BMAC was getting into there, is that there is support within that administration to try to keep him. I think the key is he's going to have to win games. It starts this weekend, but we've seen a bad loss at other places like Penn State and LSU can prompt those feelings of we want to see how this goes to we need to make action now. And certainly I think if Florida State were to lose this weekend, it would be very challenging to continue on with Mike Norvell. But I think this is a school that would love to be patient if they can, especially with what the market already is with Florida, LSU, Penn State, and others open. I think they'd love to kick this can down the road for at least one more year. But Mike has to win down the stretch for them to be able to do that.
All right, so for Mike Norvell, it goes from warm to scorching, right? So let's go to Deion Sanders, where the Buffs, they're sitting towards the bottom of the Big 12, looking to avoid a 1-5 start in conference play. So, John, I'll come to you first. Is Coach Prime's job in jeopardy in your eyes?
I'm going to cheat on this one a little bit. I think that in terms of losing his job, it is cool. I think in terms of speculation, he might step away is scorching hot because there is going to continue to be questions about his obviously well-publicized health issues amidst them not succeeding. There are a lot of industry speculation, like does he want to step away, take a leave of absence, all these different things. So I don't think Colorado has any interest right now in letting go Deion. He has been great for them from a financial standpoint. He's led to a lot of interest. We saw him have success a year ago. I don't think he's in danger of being fired in any way, but is there a lot of speculation that this job might open up at the end of the year? As of right now, there is. And Deion has tried to do his best to kind of push that down, say he's feeling well, he's intent on coaching, all those different things. But in the industry, that stuff continues to swirl around.
Hey, John, I agree with you 110%. Colorado, they have no mindset to try to fire Deion, even in the midst of losing. The bottom number has been impacted in a positive way in terms of the money Deion has brought to that university since becoming the head coach there. So for the university to even think about firing Deion in the midst of this losing slump, no, that's not happening. But in terms of Deion just deciding to step away, I agree with you. I think that is something that could be a real deal for Deion in terms of his health, and not to mention the issue on the football field. It's one thing to go through health concerns, but it's another thing to go through health concerns and your team is not living up to what you would expect them to live up to. That puts more stress and pressure on you. So I think those are things that you have to really factor in with Deion personally. But in terms of the university saying, you know what, you're not living up to the billing. Yeah, we might not have the sellout that we had a year ago. We want to cut ties with you. That's not happening.
John, we're not going to call it cheating. We'll just call it getting creative with the exercise. So more kudos to you guys, right? Let's go to the SEC, talking about Kentucky, currently riding a 4-game losing streak after they started this season 2-1. So B-Mac, how concerned are you for Mark Stoops right now at this point of the season? I'm
not concerned at all. I am not concerned at all. You talked about Kentucky. They have become a bottom dweller in the SEC. Stoops, some good flashes here and there, but as of late, he hasn't done anything positive. But I don't have concern. It's cool for me with Mark Stoops, and here's why. This is cited from the Lexington Herald Leader, right? This is the source. This is cited from them. This is an article they published. Per the terms of Stoops' contract, he would be owed 75% of the remaining salary in one lump sum payment within 60 days of being fired. If he were fired on December the 1st, that would equate to just less than $38 million. Now, you have to understand, when you look at the buyouts of James Franklin and Brian Kelly, they will be paid out monthly installments through 2031. Both contracts also specify the amount of the amount the school owes the fired coach will be reduced by his salary at his next coaching job, where there's no offset language in Stoops' contract like that. Even the largest buyout ever paid to Jimbo Fisher, which was $76 million in 2023, only included $19.2 million up front, a payment within 60 days, and then A&M will fulfill the rest of that money in payments of $7.2 million per year leading up to 2031. There's never been a buyout paid to fire a coach as the one owed to Stoops that will require to be paid in one lump sum payment. So when you hear those numbers, and based on the language in Coach Stoops' contract compares to the other contracts that we hear these large buyout numbers, his will be paid in one lump sum. The other coaches that we've harped on since being fired, they will be paid in installments. That changes the ideal about how hot Coach Stoops' seat is with Kentucky when you hear these financial numbers in the language within his contracts that actually makes it a little more difficult for him to be fired, knowing that he has a lump sum payment that we've never seen before in the history of college football.
B-Mac completely nailed it. I mean, that's probably what I was going to say too. So you said it, I don't have to get into it too much, but I mean, generally speaking, all that money being due within 60 days, that's financially onerous for Kentucky. The other factor, and this is going to come up over and over again, I think, is that if you look at the market, where does Kentucky fit in terms of the jobs that are already available? It's behind Florida. It's behind LSU. It's behind Penn State. It's behind Arkansas. You can argue it's behind Virginia Tech. So not only do you have to potentially pay $38 million, but who are you getting that is going to justify that investment? So I know there are some people that are upset there. They're upset with the way the program's trending. You never know when those people can get fired up enough to force it and say, you know, I'll put down the money. But as it stands right now, the speculation that I'm hearing talking to people around the industry is that they do not want to make a move here for all the reasons that, you know, B-Mac hit on.
All right, and then just a reminder, we do have an article on CBSSports.com that discusses all of these hot seat rankings. And I thought it was interesting because Mike Norvell and Maryland's Mike Locksley, they're in the same category for this article, in the start improving now category. So B-Mac, do you see it that way, or do you think they're in different situations?
I think they're in different situations. When you look at Mike Locksley there at Maryland, I mean, when he first became the head coach there at Maryland, we saw some pretty good things, and it kind of tapered down a little bit. But when you look at Mike Locksley, you know, what John hit on with Kentucky, that's the same thing with Maryland. If they were to fire Mike Locksley, they're at the bottom of the pecking order. When you look at Penn State, Arkansas, LSU, UCLA, Oklahoma State, heck, even Virginia Tech, would all be above them in terms of the football pedigree. And then lastly for me, when you look at what's going on with Maryland, yeah, it's not a lot to really rave about in terms of success, but the future seems to be bright at the quarterback position. True freshman Malik Washington, 6'5", 230 plus. He looks like the real deal. He's been performing like the real deal. 11 touchdowns, I think 3 interceptions. If you let go Mike Locksley, who actually has a great relationship with Malik Washington, he probably will leave as well. So when you factor those two things into the equation, I think it's a different scenario with Maryland, especially exercising patience with Locksley. Then the same could be said with Mike Norvell in Florida State.
I'm going to put this one in the warm category, but I agree with a lot of what BMAC is saying. I think where I think there are similarities between Florida State and Maryland is I think both administrations would love for their guys to win so they don't have to deal with it this year. I think you would love for him to win some games down the stretch so that you don't have to jump into what's already a crazy market. But you look, they started out the year 4-0, crushing it. They've lost their last 3 games. All 3 of those games were very winnable. They had chances to win all of them. They've got Indiana this weekend. That's going to be a challenging one, of course, on CBS. I think that you would like to see him win a game or 2 at least down the stretch. So if he can get to 5 wins, 6 wins, Mike Locksley is coming back. If you start out the year 4-0 and you end 4-8, that's challenging. That's challenging to bring a person back, I think, with that kind of scenario. So that's what I would keep an eye on down the stretch. It is not an easy schedule for them. You can see it on screen here. Rutgers and Michigan State are probably the 2 most maybe winnable games they have left. But you'd like to see at least a win or 2, I think, down the stretch. But as BMAC was saying, there is a youth movement happening at Maryland. It starts with Malik Washington. They have one of the top 3 players in the country committed for next year. Those guys are coming because of Mike Locksley. And if you keep Mike Locksley, you keep those players most likely. And I think that is going to be ultimately why if he stays another year, you feel like we've got some momentum, we've got some talent. Let's give him some more resources and see what he can do next year.
And to your point, John, that not so easy schedule kicks off on Saturday against Indiana. A reminder on CBS. John, BMAC, we appreciate it. Rolling through the college football head coach hot seat rankings. And you see it here, the coaching carousel. In terms of Power 4, the most recent one that we saw, LSU, moving on from Brian Kelly. Of course, Florida back in action, coming off of the bye, have a tough task in Georgia. Their first game without Billy Napier. Billy Gonzalez is the interim coach there.